My wife Judy and I have been homeowners for over 35 years, and we always enjoy taking care of our yard. Spring is coming, but we still have some time to get through the winter, and one of the things you can do during that time is to prepare your tools for the new season. In the past, I've used a garbage can to store the tools, and that's worked out okay, but there's times where I add a tool and the whole thing topples over and creates a mess. So I have an idea of a way to make a tool organizer, which I will share. I also want to share that I have 12 tools pictured here or included here, and they need some help. So I'm going to go through and try to clean them up. There's lots of videos on the internet how to clean and take care of tools that way. So I figured maybe I can go through, and some that work for me, I can share with you as well. So please keep watching. When I decided to clean up the garden tools, one of the things I was able to do was remove the ends of some of them. So with the screw, I was able to remove, and it made it a bit easier to get to the handles. With the ends of the tools, I was able to use some steel wool, a wire brush on my drill, as well as navel jelly. And those three did a nice job of removing some of the rust and getting them cleaned up so they almost look as nice as new. When I got to the handles, I sanded all the handles, and I found very quickly that on those handles that are probably older, maybe a bit more expensive, they use a hard wood, and with the sandpaper, it sands out really, really nicely. With that in mind, I then went with 3 different applications to refinish the handles. The first one I used was polyurethane. Polyurethane has a couple benefits. One is that it's easy to apply. So with the paintbrush, I was able to put on a nice coat, clean up with water, and it's pretty fast drying, so makes a nice surface. When it's finished, it's smooth for sure. You can sense that the polyurethane basically sits on the surface of the wood, doesn't penetrate as well, but it does a nice job of making a hard surface. The next application was shellac. Shellac is very shiny, very hard. So one of the benefits is that it is weatherproof or waterproof, so it can be left outside. The UV from the sun, unfortunately, breaks down the polyurethane, so they're not meant to be left outside. The shellac, however, is easier to leave outside because of that surface. The cleanup, though, is not as easy because it's not water-based. You have to use something like mineral spirits to clean your brush. This particular one sanded really well, very hard surface. Again, it sits on the surface, but it does a nice job and very easy to handle. The third method, and I used it on most of them because it ended up being my favorite, is the use of linseed oil. There are 2 forms. There's boiled and raw. I had boiled on hand, so that's the one that I used. The difference is evidently the raw linseed oil takes longer to dry. Boiled is what I had on hand. So with a very small rag, I was able to apply the oil to the surface. You could sense instantly that it was penetrating. I let it dry a couple days, put a second coating on so that it just made for better protection. And you can sense that if there was more absorbing, then you could put a third coat. The nice thing about the linseed oil is if I go to redo them next year, all I have to do is reapply the oil. It will soak in. Unless they get dirty, that's all that you need to do with that. One drawback for linseed oil, however, is that you have to be careful when you apply it. I used a very small rag. Because of the processing of the oil as it dries, it's called polymerization. And what happens is, as it dries, it actually can generate some heat. And that heat, if it's in a confined container, can actually combust. So you do have to be careful. In my case, I used a very small rag, applied it, put that in water, soaked it in water, and let it air dry, and there was no problem at all. Of the three techniques, I did like the linseed oil, so I went and did that on most of the handles. With this particular piece here, this is my dad's garden spade. It's probably well over 50 years old, but you can see how it's sanded very nicely. Surface is extremely smooth, and with the linseed oil, you can actually feel the wood, which is something that I like to be able to do. Even if I have gloves on, there's times where I don't have them on. I do like the feel of that. So with that, there's three different techniques that you can use to refinish your tools. Tip I can share with you, if you ever have one of those tools that you can't use anymore, don't throw it away. In this particular case, it was a hoe that broke, so I took the handle, sanded it down. In this case, I used polyurethane because I knew it wouldn't be getting wet. Put some bolts in it with a metal bracket. And in my pickup truck, if I ever have something that shifts to the front of the bed, I can use this to very easily pull it. I found that by the length of this handle, it fits in the bed. By attaching it, it becomes very sturdy. So it's an easy way to repurpose. Don't throw away those old handles. So here's how I assembled the tool organizer. I found a pallet, one that was in pretty good shape, and using a cross piece of a pallet I had from before, I cut that in half and then took 4 shelf brackets that I already had and using 1¼ inch drywall screws attached them so that the pallet would remain vertical. And that gives it a nice stability. Those 12 tools that I showed at the beginning of the video, they're all cleaned up now. And so with the various techniques that we found to clean the ends, as well as to apply to the handles, they're ready for the new season. So thank you for watching. If you can, hit like or subscribe. You'll find when our next videos are coming out. And as I always say, or at least as of today, if we enjoy our tools, we can enjoy our yard. Thanks for watching.